So episode 2 of Hawkeye opens up where episode 1 ended, which was Hawkeye realizing that Haley Steinfeld's character was dressed up as Ronin. We'll call them who they are. Clint realized that Kate was dressed up like Ronin. Of course, at first he just kind of assumed it must have been a man and an adult. And when he de-hoods her, he realizes it's a kid. And she's like, I'm 22. And he's like, yeah, same difference. Might as well be 18. So he decides he's going to find a way to protect her. He's trying to keep her safe because he knows that there's people after her. And that's kind of what this episode is about. He goes to her house and he realizes like, oh, wow, this girl has got a bunch of trophies. She's trained up. And her place is really cool. It's like this loft. It's got a lot of like concrete in it. And it's unorganized. You see Amazon boxes and stuff everywhere. But she's got a freaking boxing bag. She's got her target for target practice. This is a skilled young person. She's Hawkeye. Hawkeye's her favorite Avenger because of what happened in the past. So she's kind of a Hawkeye stan, you know? Tracksuit Mafia shows up and they throw some Molotov cocktails into her room, leads to an altercation between them. And they're so funny, dude. The Tracksuit Mafia all out there kissing their bottles of vodka before they throw them through the window. He catches it and just chucks it back at him. It's good shit, dude. Lights him on fire. Some good fire stunts. Whatever of it's real, who knows? I know the stuff that's on the van is completely CGI. The loft was an old restaurant. Her dining room is a couple of small booths. Oh, interesting. I didn't pick up on that detail. That's really neat, but it makes sense. When she shoots the fire extinguisher, bing, bing, and just kind of flies around, shoots out the window. He gets her a bunch of like supplies so that she can treat herself. Like he's so reluctantly got drug into all this. He's just trying to spend the holidays with his kids. His wife, Linda Cardellini's character, makes an appearance in the first episode and just kind of on the phone. She probably filmed all of her scenes in one day. But yeah, he's out there with the kids and he's trying to have a good time and he's trying to kind of reclaim his life. But now all of a sudden he's been drugged back into the shit. So he dresses like a firefighter so that he can go into Kate's loft and locate this Ronin suit that they were kind of worried was burned up in the fire. And I really like this episode, dude. He realizes it's not there. He's like, okay, I've got to find this suit. This thing is trouble, you know? And then he realized that there's this LARPer that had posted a TikTok video, essentially, where it's him in the Ronin costume. And Clint's like, oh, great. I got to go get it from this idiot. And Clint ends up sending the kids back. And says, you know, I'll be back in a week. They're using ASL in the show as well, which seems to be kind of a new addition to the Marvel canon, which I actually really like. Kind of interesting that the Eternals were speaking in ASL thousands and thousands of years ago, but maybe they're the ones who taught everybody American Sign Language, you know? Glad to see Linda Cardellini again as a huge fan of Freaks and Geeks. Yes, absolutely. Kate's apartment is a tribute to Clint's in the comics. It looks just like it. Oh, that's cool. Did not know that. I liked episode 2 more than episode 1. Wish I had the patience to binge watch, but I have to watch every Wednesday like all the other shows. Yeah, same. And I like the conversations we get to have because of it, you know? Like, I do like binging a little bit, but I feel like I take in every episode better when I watch it week to week. So he sends off the kids. And Kate's trying to go back to school and trying to go back to her job. She don't want to get in trouble. You know, people are like wondering where she's at. And Clint decides this is where he's got to go out and find the suit. And in the meantime, she's got to stay there. Yeah. Then we get that little montage of how he ended up losing his hearing. He's like, I don't know. And it cuts to a million different things. She's like, how'd you lose your hearing? Montage. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Could have done it at a lot of different times. And then she sees a cosplayer and she's like, hey, that one's you. And he's like, no, it's Katniss Everdeen. Yeah, dude, good shit. Oh, cool. Mark just bought the series that the comic, he bought the comic series that this series is based on. Vultures of Culture, I'm 100% in your camp on that one. 100% in your camp on that one. But this is where she shows up and talks to her stepfather and her mother. And she really doesn't trust him, but he's such an obvious misnomer. Like, you look at him and you're like, oh yeah, that's the villain. Look, he's a mustache twirling bad guy. Bad guys have to have mustaches. Her mother seems a little less conspicuous. And the thing is, you don't put a character in a full red robe dress in the first episode without kind of signifying like, okay, colors matter. This is a character who is probably bad, definitely hiding something, probably bad. Then Clint shows up to the event, you know, where all these LARPers are at. Anybody done LARPing in real life? I actually have one time. It was fun. Everybody had big foam swords in a park, and I went down there, and they're all cosplayed and dressed up. And I didn't dress up, but I got to use one of the swords and just kind of went out there and whacking at swords and stuff. It was fun. If you get hit in the torso, it's fatal, right? She says that. And then when he's fighting, he gets fucked up for a second, dude. They like overwhelm him, but he sees the guy out there in the Ronin suit and he's like, all right, here we go. But yeah, when he's slow-mo working his way through all of those LARPers. Out of respect for whatever the hell this is. It's funny too, like, because how many of us MCU fans actually do cosplay and are into kind of, you know, fantasy world. But he's like, you give me the suit or I'm gonna knock you the fuck out, basically. And the dude's like, please let me win. He's like, I need some respect out here. Put some respect on me. You get to have it all, and this is as close to that I'm gonna get to be a hero. So they weren't like super judgmental of the cosplay community, which, because that would be just rude. Yes, dude, dry and effective. I agree. Couldn't agree more. Brought my niece to a Ren Fair for her birthday. I thought it would be corny. It was really fun. Yeah, dude. Stepfather is great. That man plays that role perfectly. LOL. Yeah, for sure. Vultures of culture. They knew not to make fun of LARPers because that's part of their fan base. Yeah. And I mean, it's playful. Like, Jeremy Renner's character, you can tell, is a little like, what the fuck? But the show itself doesn't play it as like being laughable. The cops call and basically ask her if she's aware of the fire. And she's like, yeah, no problem. I wasn't there. It's like, dude, she's involved in so many like huge catastrophes. It's like, you don't sound very worked up about it. And she's like, no, I'm fine. I love that they use like kind of intense music when they're actually doing the sword fighting. We get another scene of Linda Cardellini on the phone, this time with her kids, and she basically gives them the countdown clock. You have 5 days, which there's 6 episodes in this series, so it's like each episode's going to be a different day of Hawkeye trying to get back home. And I do understand the idea that, like, yes, it would be very dark if he gets killed at the end of this series, but let's look at the fucking scorecard. Captain America, meh. Iron Man, meh. Black Widow, meh. The Hulk, never gonna get his own movie, but he's still around. We know he's gonna be in She-Hulk. And then Hawkeye. He's like basically the last man standing. So is he gonna go out like the rest of the Phase 1 superheroes, or are we gonna have him stick around? Thor actually is still around, and I think Chris Hemsworth is gonna be with the MCU for quite a while even. However, they are positioning Jane to be Lady Thor in Love and Thunder, so maybe that's when Chris Hemsworth just kind of disappears out of the MCU, goes back to, well, I know where he's not going. But, you know, like, it's possible that they're going to end up him dying. Then I love the scene where Haley Steinfeld and Jax sit down at dinner and they're having the conversation and there's this serious tension between them. And she's like, so, you're a pretty good sword fighter, huh? And he's like, yeah, I'm all right. And then they end up having this duel. And she gets smoked. She also gets super fucking mad about it. She pulls off her shit and she's like, what are you hiding, Jack? He's like, what do you mean? I'm not doing anything. And then the mom's like, please don't ruin this for me. We're getting married. You're going to have to learn to accept this guy. And then Hawkeye gets... I love dude, this show is fucking cool. Hawkeye's just walking down the street. He gets accosted by the tracksuit mafia. They abduct him. They take him back to their secret hideout. And this is where we realize that he's doing the same thing that Black Widow did in Age of Ultron, I believe it was. Maybe it was Avengers. Was it Avengers? Where she's tied up at the beginning and ends up just like getting loose. So they do it as a way to acquire information, you know, confidential stuff that they wouldn't be able to have access to. And then I don't know what she's about. Is that a comic book character that I'm just not familiar with? You guys let me know in the comment section if you know who that female that shows up at the very end of the episode is. Scarlett Johansson is executive producing an MCU movie, so she'll still be around in some fashion. That's cool. It's called Avengers Assemble in the UK, huh? Echo, Echo, Echo. All right, let's see who Echo is. Actress Alaqua Cox's groundbreaking role is one to watch. The second episode ends with Clint and Kate captured by the Tracksuit Mafia, a bunch of criminals whose fans of the comics will surely recognize. What they might be surprised to see, though, is who leads them. Oh, okay, so Echo leads the Trenchcoat Mafia, or the Trenchcoat Mafia. Oops, that's not what I meant to say. The Tracksuit Mafia. Ooh, man, that's close, isn't it? Although she isn't traditionally a major player in the comics, Echo is definitely a fan favorite, so it should come as no surprise that Marvel plans to give the character her own show at some stage, too. What? Wow, they must really like this character. Maya Lopez, as she's otherwise known, was first introduced in Daredevil number 9 in 1999. So Echo showing up is what gives people the idea that Matt Murdock may be showing up in this series, as well as I think there's a television newscaster who's from the Daredevil universe. Is that correct? Oh, okay. Echo is the character who's getting her own show connected to Daredevil and Kingpin. Okay. Echo, she's Kingpin's adopted daughter in the comics sometimes. Okay, interesting. Yeah, this is all news to me. I'm not super familiar with the comic book lore, but I do try to pay attention, try to stay caught up with all that stuff. The TV host is in Spider-Man Far From Home, too. Oh, wow. Okay, so they existed in the Netflix, the Disney Plus, and the Sonyverse. That's pretty impressive. This next phase of Marvel, even if it does lack a Thanos level villain as far as recognizability and performance-wise and all of that, what we're getting a lot of in Phase 4 is interesting pairings of characters or interesting grouping of characters, as well as introducing us to new characters. But I think this phase in particular is going to rely very heavily on, here's Strange in a Spider-Man movie. Here's Spider-Man in a Strange movie. Here's Daredevil showing up in you get what I'm saying. A lot of cross-pollination, which is very true to the comic books. I have no issue with it. I just feel like after the novelty of showing all these characters together could potentially wear off, what do you go to, you know? And I think series like Hawkeye is the answer to that. I think, as I mentioned at the very beginning of my episode 1 review, like, you want to bring it back to basics. You want to strip away all of the excess stuff so that what you have is a very character-driven series where you're invested emotionally in the outcome of it, and where if you lose a character, it has weight to it, and they don't just come back in the next episode or whatever. So we'll see how it goes. But yes, so far, I'm very much enjoying Hawkeye. Episode 1 and 2 were released at the same time. And now we're a couple days out. Wednesday is when the next episode will be released. And I can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see what it ends up looking like. So yeah, there we go. I also really like Pizza Dog. I don't think I mentioned Pizza Dog yet. Interesting. She's also one of Marvel's first Native American, which... that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is that she's a deaf hero, which, as I mentioned, ASL is starting to play a factor. And the actor that plays her is deaf, so a little authenticity there. Oops. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Hawkeye. I don't want to say it's my favorite or my least favorite of the MCU series yet, because I try to look at them as a whole. I'm not interested in reviewing or rating each different episode to to quantify it. I don't think it matters in that kind of way. We have a chance to talk about it. She also has a prosthetic leg. Is that the actor or the character? What we're starting to see is like we've got Sam and Bucky as a pair. We've got, I guess, Wanda and Vision as a pair. Then we got Loki and Sylvie as a pair. And now we've got Hawkeye and Hawkeye as a pair. So like that buddy dynamic is really working out for Marvel on the television side. The actor, wow, that's impressive. That's super impressive that she's going to be able to do these action sequences and stuff with a prosthetic leg. Super cool. But yeah, those are my thoughts on it, and would love to hear yours down in the comment section or in the chat or however you're watching this in playback. Let's have a conversation. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, take a second to click that like button. It really helps the channel out.